Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Who Needs a Film Critic? I'm your host, William Yelton, and today we will be talking about the second episode of Squid Game. Let's jump right into the conversation about Squid Game Episode 2, entitled Hell. Split on whether to continue or quit, the group holds a vote, but the realities in the outside world may prove to be just as unforgiving as the game itself. Now, not to taint the jury here, but I have to admit, this episode was definitely a surprise to me. I don't think any of us predicted that the contestants would have the opportunity to leave the game facility and to go back home to their regular lives. It certainly wasn't the action-packed second episode that I was expecting after the bloodbath of episode 1. However, there was a lot of backstory and insights given, which provided a lot of clarity on a lot of the characters that we've been acquainted with. So, my question for everyone is, was there anyone else that was surprised by the direction the show took on this second episode? And did you like that turn or not?
I definitely wasn't expecting it. I was definitely expecting a lot more bloodshed. It was very surprising, but also bored me just a tad bit.
I was going to say, I really appreciated this episode because it helped me connect emotionally with the characters and the backstory. It was just a really emotional episode. And it was needed because otherwise you didn't really feel like you knew who they were. And now I think I do, going into the next game, to see why they're doing what they're doing, where they came from. I thought it was important.
I wish it was done more with flashbacks, only because I'm the type of person, I like action-packed stuff. So I wish it was done more with flashbacks than the whole episode being the background story.
So clearly there are two sides to look at this episode. There are the people that might agree with Rachel, who say, she loved it because she was able to become invested in many of the characters. And then there's folks like Jen who say, yeah, I was kind of bored. So if those are the two camps, does anyone want to speak up in agreement with Jen's viewpoint on the episode?
I think it was vitally important to see the backstories of everyone. It definitely helped us connect to them as, characters rather than just seeing them trying to kill each other. But I think that it was definitely boring. But towards the end, then just like episode 1, it started to reel me back in. I was like, okay, this is why I'm watching.
Raise your hand if you fall into this camp with Skylar and Jen.
It's easy when you can binge them. You don't have to be bored for too long.
Well, I understand that, but we're going episode by episode basis. Yeah. And we're going to hear from the opposing side as well. But can you raise your hands if you fall into that camp again? Kiana and Devon.
I felt like the first episode ended on a huge high up here. Then the second episode was a very different pace. I almost felt like I was watching a whole different show. I guess it could be equally exciting if the second episode was how the show was done. But I think since we got a little bit of the taste of the excitement and the thrill from the first episode, the second episode just kind of fell short in that aspect. I do think it was needed, but yeah, it was a very different pace of the show. And it just wasn't what I was expecting for the second episode after ending on that huge high on the first episode.
And now let's go to the other side of the argument, which is it's not just that it was vital, but you enjoyed it. You thoroughly enjoyed the second episode. If you really liked the second episode, speak to why. Stan, I saw you nodding.
Okay, I really appreciated the second episode because it's not like, how you said, okay, if it's flashbacks, you kind of see what they were thoughts. They were physically brought back to their real lives, which is mind-boggling as what people are saying. They chose 187 people out of 201 chose to come back. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And they nicely complemented the first episode by introducing why. The guy's best friend who went to business school and the mom had no idea that he was this much in debt. And we get to kind of open up that a little bit more. And Ali, who actually pushed his boss and his boss got his hand kind of tore up. That didn't wasn't as brutal as bloodshed, which doesn't need to be every episode. And I think they almost kind of did an appropriately necessary, like, let's take a step back, let's introduce the people, and then get back to the bloodshed. And I think there's a nice touch to it. I didn't expect it at all.
I think that makes the, when they get back, right? I think that makes the rest of those games so much more intense, so much more serious. It's like, oh, like y'all chose to be here, like really chose. Mm-hmm. And so, there's really no turning back at that point. And I feel like it's just like a very crazy commentary on the world we live in, right? Just quit your job if you don't want to, if you don't want it, right? And, a lot of people quit their jobs and end up going right back, you know what I mean? Like, or finding something just as bad,
I appreciated seeing the backstory, especially on the people who voted that they wanted to leave and then ultimately came back, which ended up being all but, I think, 13 people or 15 people, something like that. I think the backstory with finding out that the mother had diabetes and might have to have her feet amputated, but was leaving the hospital saying, we can't afford it. All of them had some sort of a backstory where they voted no and then came back.
Anessa, you were pretty vocal pushing back at the beginning of this conversation when some of the people on this call were talking about how they were kind of bored during the episode. So what were your thoughts? Why were you so vocal?
I actually liked it. I think that it was very surprising the way that it happened, because I can't believe they were given the choice to leave. And I can't believe that the game masters would think that they're not going to tell anybody. Like, of course, they're going to tell people about this. And I'm surprised that the old man decided to vote no. I mean, the guy's dying anyway.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one of the scenes I wanted to talk about. So let's take a look at the clip and then discuss.
이제 마지막 투표자입니다. 1번.
의사가 그러는데 내 머릿속에
All right, let's talk about that scene in particular. Ed, I haven't heard from you yet. Thoughts?
I was thinking as soon as he pressed the X that half of the room was going to be shot down. I figured all the X's were going to be killed and the survivors would be going on. And that was a really good hook. There was also a line as they're taking the vote and I think it was, we cannot slow down the democratic process. And I thought, boy, that's really odd coming. I mean, South Korea does have a president and all, but I thought, I wonder if it's a reflection on the politics of the time. We can't slow down the democratic process.
Well, he wanted to stay and play, but I believe he just didn't want to make the decision to make everybody else that didn't want to play stay and risk their life as well.
Now that Devon brought it up, I think it's really interesting because, like, if he chose to like keep playing, right, in some, he's the very one that like top, tipped the scale, right, and so for the rest of those games, in some way that like that man becomes a target, for people that maybe didn't want to be in this, right? Like they might just try and off him first. And so I think that's part of it too, right? Like he's got the weight of this entire fucking thing on him. And if half the people in this fucking shit hate you after this, right? Like why you don't want that on your name anyway.
It's possible he played before.
See, I agree with you.
Before.
I mean, I don't think it's a crazy coincidence that he ended up living like super close to Gi-Hun and runs into this dude before they go back.
And that he's number one.
Yeah.
Was he planted? Is he a plant? Like
not this one.
I think he's running it.
Is he running? I think that's what I was kind of like. So okay, so that's what I was thinking.
That.
That's what I was thinking. Like
he's number one.
He's number one.
He doesn't remember his name. Oh.
And like he doesn't have any debts. He's just old with a brain tumor, right? Like it's like he's just like, I'm just gonna go.
He's chilling.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like he doesn't need the money.
He's also a plot device because we're supposed to think that he has nothing to lose, so he's gonna want to continue to play. because he's dying. So he is plot device. So you won me over. Maybe he's in charge of the game.
That's a good point. I'm totally on this.
All right, Kim was shaking her head despite all of this. This kind of group conspiracy theory is going on right now, which I love. This is great. I don't know. I'm not spoiled. But for you were shaking your head. You're obviously not buying into what, some of the people in this call are trying to kind of make into existence.
They're trying to make fetch happen, and it's not going to happen, Regina. But I think that on top of the brain tumor, because of his age, that he has dementia. So that's why he couldn't remember his name, which we'll see. He was indecisive on which button to push. There's been a lot of things that have shown, even like the random smiles, which I think might be a flashback to maybe fun times when he was a kid playing these games. So I don't think he's running the game at all.
So we've talked about how this episode was good at delivering us the backstory and all these characters. So I'm wondering which character stood out. Which character did you really enjoy learning more about?
The pickpocketer. We understand that basically she needs them to put the money together in order to get her parents across the border. I think they're trying to get into the country. Correct me if I'm wrong. So she paid them like 40 million. I'm not really sure what that actually translates into. She paid them $40 million to a broker to get her parents across. And then that guy just took the money and ran. So now she's going to do it again.
The one I was most intrigued about was, I think his name, is it Ali, the guy from Pakistan, I believe? In the first episode, he reaches down, he grabs, and he saves, the main character. And, you really didn't know anything about him. So I did appreciate that, hey, and now I know he has a wife, he's got a daughter, he's trying to get them, somewhere else, to live a different, life. So that is one thing I did enjoy about this episode and kind of look forward to, was learning a little bit about him. And also by hopefully learning about him, he lasts a little longer, because I do enjoy his character a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with Josh. I thought Ali was a very standout character. Here's this genuine guy. How did this pure heart, this pure soul land up in this game? I thought it was very interesting when Ali met up with Sang-Woo at a convenience store or something, and he kept on calling him sir, and it just kind of speaks to his culture and his kind heart. Like, he looks up to this person or sees a really good camaraderie between them. And same, then we go and see his family, and I think he'd much rather put the people he loves in front of him before himself. And I think that's foreshadowing in the game. I think his heart is going to be his downfall. I do think he's going to help a lot of these people in the games, because that's who he is as a person outside of the game. And yeah, I think that's going to bite him in his butt.
Does anybody want to talk on the story that we've learned a little bit more about Cho Sang-Woo? So it's the smart friend, the one.
I was actually gonna raise up my hand, because I enjoyed his story, because he's kind of an enigma. Coming in, when Gi-Hun initially saw him, he's like, what is this guy doing? So he must know him, and then he speaks so highly of this person, goes to business school, mom is so proud and of him, like puts a picture in front of her fish store, but then somehow this guy is in a lot of debt, and is hiding in supposedly America. So I actually don't even think we know more or a lot of about Cho Sang-Woo right now. I think he's a character that's going to be there right by Gi-Hun's side, all the way through to the end, but he's going to be kind of his accomplice almost. We don't have the full story yet. It's really interesting. A lot of the other characters we already kind of know. He is more of an enigma still, and he was drinking in his bathtub with smoking cigarettes, and he's kind of a mess, but we don't know why, right? That's kind of interesting to me.
Don't we know a little bit though? Don't we know that he was almost like a Wall Street type of banker type of guy, and he basically over leveraged his clients' money?
Yes, he bought the futures. Yes.
Yeah. So I think his character kind of harkens back to 1920s like desperation where I've read some stories where stockbrokers, when the market crashed, they would like jump from buildings and kill themselves. Like he's he really is just moving one foot in front of the other and just trying to he's in survival mode. I mean, he's already crossed the line into moral ambiguity, whereas I think the others, they understand what the game is. It seems like they get what's going on. They get that their life sucks. But I think he is more willing to not live by a code anymore because he's like, fuck it. Like, what else can I do other than ruin my mother's retirement and her business? And I've already gone that far against my own mom. What I can do anything now.
All right. So we've talked about a lot of the characters thus far, but we haven't really touched on the main characters. So what were our thoughts on our protagonist in this first episode?
I can't believe that the guy decided to not take the money from the scumbag father. I mean, they're going to move to America anyway. Might as well just take the money.
Vanessa, you're on point tonight. I have that scene on the queue as well. So let's watch and then discuss.
뭐죠?
돈 필요하다면서요?
감사합니다. 제가 꼭 갚겠습니다.
안 갚으셔도 됩니다. 우리 가족 앞에 다시는 안 나타나 주셨으면 합니다. 무슨 나타나지?
이 새끼가 돈이면 다 드릴 줄 알아.
아빠.
All right. Who wants to lead the discussion?
That was the first time I was proud of Gi-Hun. I was like, okay, so this guy is basically a loser. He is very desperate. He's got all these debts, but he has lines that he can't cross. He has a code, and one of those lines is he's not going to, no matter what, his mom, she's got a foot amputation that he needs to pay for. She's diabetic, all those things. He's like, but I'm not going to sell access to my daughter. She's my daughter. I'm her father. I'm not signing over my guardianship, or whatever that agreement entails. So he's a desperate man, but he's not so desperate that he can just toss away his relationship with his daughter. So that was the first time I think that I was actually proud of him.
I totally disagree. I think this is insane. I think that his mother is dying. You need the money now. This guy is handing you the money. They're also going to move to the United States anyway. So you can't stop them from moving to the United States. It's just a matter of principle and pride. And he just doesn't want to agree to this. Just take the money, get your mom to feel better, survive. You don't have to play this game to death, and then do whatever you need to anyway. But they're moving to the United States and you can't stop them. So just take the money.
But there has to be something to be said about he just got his manhood taken away from him by it's real and it's emotion and it's and I understand where you're coming from. Listen, if I get that amount of money and I needed it, I think had it ended with I'll pay you back. No, you don't have to pay me back. Take care of your mom. It's called a day.
The girl who man is just
he needs it for his mom.
But then the stepdad was like, but I want you to do one thing. And I think that's the jugular. When he said, I don't want you to see my daughter, there was a turn into maybe here's, let me help you out because you're my stepdaughter's father and you're my ex-wife's ex-husband. Here's some money, help your mother because she was nice to her. Versus here's the money. Then it turned into don't see your daughter again.
Who cares? Just take the money, go help your mom.
The stepfather has control, but the stepfather has control over if he actually can see his daughter, right?
And they're moving to the United States anyway, so he's not going to see his daughter anyway.
See your daughter, if you can't see your daughter because of something, you go nuts. I think
you fight for your daughter.
Fight it. I would.
No, but if they're moving away anyway, but he needs the money now. If he can pay the money back later, he can pay back and then see his daughter or see his daughter anyway.
I want to talk about the other side of it instead of focusing on him and what he has stood to lose. Think about it from the mother and the stepfather's point of view, where he's been in and out of their life, and not a very good father figure. And it's probably healthier for him not to be, 100% in this daughter's life. You can see it in her face when she's at the very end, when she watches what's happened. And it's almost like it's the same disappointment over and over again. So I'm not mad at the guy for trying to buy him off. I would have done the same thing. You know, he's not been a father figure and he's not going to be a father figure. So, you know, why not just offer, here's the money and go while you can?
I knew that scene was going to kind of make for some great debate, and it certainly did. So the last thing to do with episode 2, it is time to rate. You don't have to write it on a piece of paper. You can hold up your fingers 1 through 5, and then we will tally up the scores and we will see what episode 2 was rated by the panel. Ed, you are first. What would you rate episode 2? 4. All right. Jin. 4. Stan. Anessa. 4.
Change my vote to a 3. I'm sorry.
Brandon. 3. Kim. 4. Josh. 3. Yeah, okay. Rachel. 3. Satnam. 4. All right. Devon. 3. Kiana. 3. And Skylar.
3.
All right, we're going to calculate it up. This episode falls at a 3.4. So it is behind episode 1. It is currently second place in the season. That is it for episode 2. Thank you to the panelists and for those watching at home. If you're new to this channel, we're new too. So please comment, like, subscribe, share the video. We are just starting out and need all the help that we can get. So help us jumpstart this channel. Also, we are now on the podcast app. So if you prefer to listen to future episodes, just type in Who Needs a Film Critic and click subscribe. Finally, if you're interested in joining a future panel to discuss a different movie or TV show, email me at whoneedsafilmcritic@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm your host, William Yelton, and I look forward to discussing episode 3 with this fantastic group of panelists. Have a good day.